to each and every one of you, tourism management students. Welcome to Tourism Management Elective 3, which is Ecotourism. Welcome to our class. After you read the module or after you watch this lesson video, you should be able to, number 1, discuss the social impacts of tourism. Number 2, discuss the ecological impacts of tourism. So now let's proceed. The social impacts of tourism. But first, let us define what do we mean by the terms social impact. So from the word itself, it means social impacts. It means these are the effects on people and communities. So when we say social impacts, these are the effects on people and communities that happen as a result of the what we called action or inaction. That has a relevance to the what we called activities, projects, policy, or programs. So to discuss further, why is it important for us to understand the so-called social impact? So as we all know, in all kinds of things, there are advantages, there are disadvantages, there are positive, there are negative. So why is it important to understand the so-called social impact? As simple as we need to make sure that the impacts are as positive as it can be, and for us to reduce the negative impacts. And later on, we will discuss how are we going to reduce those negative impacts. Next one is the DOSY wrote that there are 4 main stages to consider in the assessment of local feelings toward the tourism industry. So this is what we call the 4 stages of DOSY's Iridex. So you can take note of this. 4 stages of DOSY's Iridex. So to further discuss, we have here 4 words or 4 terms, which is the euphoria, apathy, annoyance, and antagonism. So when we say euphoria, in the dictionary meaning, it is the experience of the what we call pleasure and excitement. So it means when we convert it into tourism industry, tourists are welcomed with little control or planning. So in social relationships, when we say euphoria, visitors and investors are welcome. So there is a little planning or formalized control, and of course, there is a greater potential for influence to be exerted by the locals. So in short, sa euphoria, dito yung stage na kung saan yung mga tourists na-excite sila because a particular destination is new to them. Ito yung mga never seen before destination na ngayon lang nilang napuntahan. Kaya nga sabi dito, there is a little control to the tourists, and of course, medyo hindi pa ganun ka-detailed yung plan ng mismong agency, ng mismong organization or government with regards to a particular destination. So most likely, ang nafe-feel ni tourists dito sa stage number 1 is they feel that they are welcome, they feel the excitement, they feel the pleasure, and they feel the happiness. Next one is the apathy. So when we say apathy, tourists are taken for granted with the relationship between both groups becoming more formal or commercialized. So kung sa stage number 1, informal pa yung mga nangyayari with regards to the tourists and the environment and the locals, sa apathy naman, mas nagiging formal na siya. Or doon na papasok yung term na commercialize or commercialization. But then again, in a dictionary term or meaning, apathy means lack of feeling or emotion, lack of interest, or attitude of not caring. That's why sinasabi din dito that visitors are taken for granted. Yung mga turista, they are taken for granted. But on the other hand, meron ng formal relationship between the host and the guests. On the other hand, mas binibigyan natin ng focus yung marketing. Kasi 'di ba sa first stage, nakilala na ng mga tourist yung particular destination. So ibig sabihin, kung nakilala na nila, maraming tourist ang nagpunta sa particular area, hindi dapat doon nag-stop. Ibig sabihin, mag-promote pa rin tayo na mag-promote, lawakan pa din natin yung ating marketing efforts and promotional efforts para nang sa ganun, mas makilala pa yung isang lugar. That's why sinasabi dito, tourism industry lobby grows in power. At yung power na sinasabi doon is yung tinatawag natin na mga marketing strategy ng mga government or nung mismong agency or organization. Number 3 is annoyance. So annoyance as a saturation in the industry is experienced. Local people have misgivings about the place of the tourism. Planners increase infrastructures rather than limit growth. So pag sinabi nating annoyance, it is a feeling when someone makes you feel angry or upset. So ibig sabihin, para lang din natin ditong inihahalin tulad yung tinatawag natin na tourism life cycle. So from the very stage development, nakilala yung isang tourist destination up to the decline stage. So si annoyance, sabi dito, there are residents misgiving about tourism. Planners attempt to control by increasing the infrastructure rather than limiting the growth. So, ibig sabihin, sa stage na to, mas nag-i-invest yung mga tao o yung mga owners, yung mga in charge within a particular destination na mas magpatayo pa ng building. Mas magpatayo pa ng mga iba't ibang infrastructures kasi sa tingin nila, mas marami pang tourist ang pupunta. Kasi sa stage 2, nag-invest tayo Nag-invest tayo ng mas malaking marketing efforts. So, ang nangyayari dito sa stage 3, pwedeng magkaroon ng balance and imbalance. Depende na nga lang kung yung mga turista is pupunta sa isang lugar or dahil sa sobrang excitement nila na puntahan na nila isang lugar, magsuswitch sila to other places. So next one is the antagonism. So antagonism, irritations are openly displayed towards tourists and tourism. So dito, sinasabi sa antagonism, there is an ongoing aggression between two individuals or groups. So ibig sabihin, nagkakaroon na ng decline. Residents perceive tourists as the cause of the problems. So minsan pag hindi natin nalilimitahan yung dami ng turista sa isang tourist destination or sa isang lugar, usually hindi na maganda yung nagiging dating. Lalong-lalo na sa mga local residents or sa host population. Kasi feeling nila masyado ng bombarded, masyado ng crowded within the area na hindi na natin napipigilan yung mga turista na magkalat, hindi na natin napipigilan yung iba't ibang mga pollutions na pwedeng mag-cause ng harm or danger sa mismong local population or sa host community. So those are the 4 stages of doxis iridex: the euphoria, apathy, annoyance, and antagonism. So next one is the what we call demonstration effect. So ano nga ba si demonstration effect? So demonstration effect, according here, a notable impact of tourism on the traditional values is the demonstration effect, where local patterns of consumption change to imitate those of the tourists, even though local people only get to see the side of tourists that is often not representative of their values displayed at home. Example nga dyan is yung spending patterns. So when we say demonstration effect, this refers to the behavior. Okay? This refers to the behavior of the individuals or the tourist itself caused by observation. So, it is caused by the observation of actions of others and their consequences. Kaya nga sinabing demonstration. Ibig sabihin, yung mga turista, may mga ginagawa sila, may mga ipinakikita sila na wherein na-observe yun ng host community or ng local community. Na sa tingin nila, itong klaseng behavior na to is dapat gayahin. So ano yung nagiging effect nun kapag yung mga ibang turista, ibang tao, ginaya yung particular act ng isang tourist. Kaya nga sinasabi natin dito, according to Financial Times lexicon, it is the idea that people expect or want to buy or have things because they see that other people are able to have them. For example, dear friend, halimbawa yung kaibigan mo nagpunta sa Boracay, dinescribe niya yung Boracay, sinabi niya yung observation niya sa Boracay, in that case, ikaw din gusto mong gayahin siya. In that case, gusto mo rin na pumunta sa Boracay para ma-experience yung na-experience niya. Because you believe that you will be able to experience kung ano yung na-experience ng ibang tourist. But as I've said during our first meeting nung first year pa kayo, that you can really travel if you have the time and the money. Kahit sabihin pa natin na may demonstration effect, you can really travel if you have enough money and enough time. So makikita din natin dito yung tinatawag na spending patterns. Paano ba gumastos ang isang turista, lalo na kung mga foreigners yan? Paano ba sila gumastos sa isang destination? Are they converting the amount of money sa currency nila, or they are just spending so much in a particular destination na hindi na nila iniisip kung gaano kalaki yung amount na yun, kung ano yung value ng pera na yun. Okay. So next is the what we called alien commodities. So ano ba yung sinasabi natin na alien commodities? These are rarely desired prior to their introduction into host communities, and for most residents of destinations, areas in the developing world such as commodities remain tantalizing beyond reach. So when we say the word alien, usually we perceive it as a foreign country. Okay? Foreign country or nation. But when we say the word commodity, these are the basic goods. Okay? When we say commodity, these are the basic goods used in commerce that is interchangeable with other goods of the same type. So minsan nakakakita tayo or mas pinapatronize natin yung ibang mga products, ibang mga services from other countries. So kaya sinasabi dito, such commodities remain tantalizing beyond reach. Minsan, even the local community, even the local tourists, the domestic tourists, they are still unable to go to other places. They are still unable to go to international country given the fact na ang daming mga requirements when you go outside the country. Na wherein, kapag madaming requirements, it requires also a lot of money, a lot of investment for you to go to a particular destination, lalo na kung ito is across the country na or sa ibang bansa. Next one is the process of commercialization and commodification. So ano ba yung sinasabi sa word na commercialization and commodification? So when we say commercialization, these are the process of bringing new products or services to the market. So ano ba yung mga process na involved pagdating sa commercialization? So dito nakapaloob yung production, distribution, marketing strategy na gagamitin mo para mas ma-promote yung isang destination, yung sales, yung customer support, in order for you to achieve yung commercial success na tinatawag. Ibig sabihin, dito sa commercialization, dito nakapaloob yung tinatawag natin na local cultural products at saka yung tourism service products. How about yung term na commodification? So pag sinabi naman natin commodification, These are the act or process of treating something into a commodity. Okay? So, treating something into a commodity. So, ano ibig sabihin nun? So, pag sinabi kasi natin commodity, these are the products that can be bought or sold. So, pwede mo siyang bilhin, pwede mo rin siyang ibenta. So, for example, sa mga natural resources, for example, a beach. You can buy a beach or i-privatize, gawing private yung isang beach. At the same time, pwede mo rin siyang ibenta sa market. Okay? Na merong karampatang presyo, na makatarungan na presyo, na pwede mo siyang ibenta sa market. So, those are the two terms, commercialization and commodification. When we say commercialization, bringing new products and services to the market. When we say commodification, these are treating something into a commodity or products that can be bought or sold. So, next one is an example, yung tinatawag natin na Zanzibar. So, Zanzibar is a semi-autonomous region in Tanzania. So, isa siya sa mga UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, sabi dito, according to Gosling, who writes that young Zanzibaris clamor to identify with Western lifestyles by drinking beers, wearing sunglasses, or adopting similar styles of clothing, the tourist lifestyle thus gained superiority in Zanzibar, leading to a situation where tourists are allowed, even expected, to act inappropriately, example, topless bathing, and where local people are influenced to change their traditional ways in mirroring tourist behavior. So, dahil napag-usapan natin kanina yung 4 local feelings ng mga tourists, ang sinasabi dito sa Zanzibar, that there are times that when we go to a certain places, hindi na natin namamalayan yung mga behaviors na pinapakita natin, na ginagawa natin. Of course, when we go to a beach, we really need to wear mga swimsuits, we really need to wear yung mga revealing clothes, but in Zanzibar, meron silang sinusunod na pattern. Okay? So sa Zanzibar, usually they wear casual and semi-casual clothes. They cannot dress revealing clothes. So for men, sa mga kalalakihan, they are not allowed to walk around na walang suot na t-shirt. So dapat naka-t-shirt yung mga kalalakihan sa Zanzibar. While for the women, they are not allowed to wear yung mga mini shorts or mga mini skirts. Okay? So, meron naman silang contrary na ginawa na they can wear shorts but not too short. Which is really hard because nowadays, when you wear a short, it's really short. Okay? So, yun lang po yung sinasabi natin dito that sometimes, yung ating mga behavior is inappropriate. At nakikita yon nung tinatawag natin ng mga local people o nung mga tao mismong nakatira doon. So, in that case, nagre-reflect yung behavior ni tourist doon sa mga local tourists and vice versa. Kasi si Zanzibar, if you're going to search it to the internet, it is really a safe place. Okay? Safe doon yung mga turista. At the same time, yung tourism sa Zanzibar is one of the source of income ng mga local people out there. Okay. So next one is the fragmentation of culture. So ano ba pag sinabi nating fragmentation? Usually these are the process of breaking into small or separate parts. Ibig sabihin, hiwa-hiwalay. Merong parts, merong, let's say, division na tinatawag. So it occurs on many levels within destination, most notably from the standpoint of prostitution, crime, erosion of language in favor of more international dialects, the erosion of tradition, either forgotten or modified for tourists, changes to local music and other art forms, food in the form of more international cuisine, architecture, dress, family relationship, and so on. So when we say fragmentation of culture, nahahati po talaga. So as we've mentioned last time in THM06, which is the multicultural diversity in workplace, that culture involves different components. Your tradition, your beliefs, your political standpoint, the sexuality of a person, the gender of a person, the educational background, ethnicity, race, and so on. So, ibig sabihin, within a certain destination, maraming cultures that a particular local population and the tourists should adapt. Diba? Kasi itong culture na to, meron din siyang positive and negative impact sa mismong society, sa mismong community, at sa mismong mga turista. So, in recognizing the potential for social impact in a tourist region, Ryan has identified the number of key points, all of which may be used as an indicators or determinants of impact. So, paano ba natin malalaman kung meron ng negative, may positive na impact sa isang lugar? So, lahat yon is naka-base dito sa 17 key points. We will not further elaborate it, but I will read it one by one. So, the number of tourists, the type of tourists, the stage of tourist development, the differential in economic development between tourist-generating and tourist-receiving zones, the difference in cultural norms between tourist-generating and tourist-receiving zones, the physical size of the area, which affect the densities of tourist population, the extent of which tourism is serviced by an immigrant worker population, the degree to which incoming tourists purchase properties, the degree to which local people retain ownership of properties and tourist facilities, the attitudes of governmental bodies, the beliefs of host communities and the strengths of those beliefs, the degree of exposure to other forces of technological, social, and economic change, the policies adopted with respect to tourist dispersal, the marketing of the tourist destination and the images that are created of that destination, the homogeneity of the host society, the accessibility of tourist destination, and the original strength of artists and folkloric practices and nature of tradition. So lahat ng nabanggit ko, lahat sila pwedeng magkaroon ng positive and negative impact. So we have here an example. So Stronza observes that we need to understand the dynamics behind both tourists and residents. Ibig sabihin, in a certain destination or in a certain area, we need to understand na meron tinatawag na dynamics or may mga changes talaga. Hindi lang sa resident, kundi pati sa tourist. Kasi sabi natin dito, there is a cross-cultural interaction. Iba't ibang nationality yan, iba't ibang mga beliefs, iba't iba yung kanilang mga culture na wherein kailangan pakisamahan, lalong-lalo na ng mga local residents or ng host population. Kasi si host, halimbawa, I will go to, let's say, Baguio. So si Manor or si Manor Hotel, siya yung pinaka-host. Ibig sabihin, siya yung magwe-welcome sa akin, dun ako i-stay for a night, let's say for example. So, ibig sabihin, kahit gaano kadaming turista, mapa-foreigners man yan, mapa-locals man yan, ibig sabihin dapat mapakisamahan nila ng maayos. Okay? Regardless of their culture, regardless of the background they have. Because we all know that change is really inevitable. So, hindi natin mapipigilan yung pagbabago, lalong-lalo na with regards to tourism industry. So, Cohen's concept of the so-called environmental bubble. The former is distinguishable based on the belief that the ecotourist interaction with the destination, the purchase of ecotourism as a commodity, induces a type of ignorance that clouds the social relations that bring it into existence. So, yung sinasabi lang natin dito sa environmental bubble, that tourists perform, okay? So, tourists perform a series of strategy. Okay? Yung mga turista na yan, they are performing their own methods, they are performing their own strategy in order for them to stay in a particular destination. So, ibig sabihin, ano yung nakakapagpa-stay sa kanila sa isang destination? Ano yung nakakapagpatagal sila? Kasi 'di ba, may mga tourists na talagang nag-e-extend pa ng kanilang bakasyon. So it is a degree to which a tourist exposes himself to the strangeness of host society. So ibig sabihin, kahit bago pa lang tayo sa isang area, bago pa lang tayo sa isang destination na yun, ngayon pa lang tayo nakapunta doon, we are really doing things, we are really coming up with ideas kung paano natin ma-enjoy yung isang destination, kung paano tayo magtatagal, ano pa yung mga activities na pwede natin gawin, ano pa yung mga activities na pwede natin itry. So basically, yun si environmental bubble. So next one is the term sustainability. So we all know that we've already discussed the term sustainability, but to further mention it, so sabi dito, it is also unfortunate reality that sustainability comes only as a result of physical conditions that limit exploitation. So when we say exploitation, limit the destruction. So sustainability, it is the avoidance of depletion of natural resources. When we say depletion, iniiwasan natin yung masira, mawasak yung ating natural resources. Para na sa ganun, ma-maintain natin yung tinatawag na ecological balance. Or in other words, sustainability means we meet our own needs without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Ibig sabihin, tayo ngayon, dito sa henerasyon natin ngayon, marami tayong mga kailangan. Diba? Marami tayong mga needs, marami tayong mga wants. Gusto natin pumunta sa particular area, gusto natin pumunta sa ibang bansa. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga needs na yon, yung mga gagawin natin na needs, yung mga makakamit natin na needs, we can really do it. But we should not compromise yung mga susunod pang generation. Baka naman kasi sa sobrang kalat natin, pag pumupunta tayo sa mga beach, sa resort, masira na yung area. Yung future generation, hindi na nila maabutan yung tourist destination na yon. Or let's say, magkaroon na ng decline stage sa particular destination na yun. So, pag sa sustainability, dito natin gusto yung tinatawag na environmental quality. Ano ba yung environmental quality na yon? Ibig sabihin, we have a healthy community, we have a clean air, we have a clean natural resources, and we have a non-toxic environment. And at the same time, sa sustainability, dito din nakapaloob yung ating healthcare system. Yung maayos na healthcare system. Kasi syempre, in a particular destination, lalo na yan is kung sa mga beaches, mga forests, or let's say sa mga wildlife, kailangan talaga may mga nakaantabay na mga healthcare assistants. May mga clinics na available, may mga hospital na available. So next one is the ecological impacts of tourism. So kung kanina dinescribe natin si social impact na ang focus niya is the community and the people, si ecological impact naman is ang focus niya is sa mga living beings or sa environment. Okay? So ang focus niya is more likely sa human activities and yung mga natural events na nangyayari within a particular area. So, concern over the ecological effects of the tourism mounted during the 1960s through the realization that the industry had the capability of either moderately altering or completely transforming destination regions in adverse ways. Ibig sabihin, dahil sa technological advancement, dahil sa innovation, so yung isang particular destination, mas pwede natin siyang pagandahin. O kaya man, pwede tayong pumunta sa iba pang mga alternative na mga destination na kamukha din naman ng mga napuntahan natin dati, pero may iba tayong atmosphere, may ibang excitement or activities tayo na pwedeng gawin. So according to Crittendon, illustrates that while tourism has transformed much of the world's natural beauty into a gold, the industry may have planted the seeds of its own destruction. So sinasabi dito ni Critendon na masyado tayong nag-i-invest, masyado natin trinatransform yung isang lugar para mas maging maganda siya, like a gold. Pero on the other hand, tayo din yung mismong nagpa-plan, tayo din mismo yung nagtatanim ng own destruction. So as we all know, tourism is one of the greatest contributor in our country. Okay, lalong-lalo na sa economic growth ng isang bansa. But of course also, without the proper, let's say, without the proper maintenance, without proper care sa ating environment, talaga nga namang tayo mismo yung gagawa ng distraction natin. Tayo yung naging masaya sa isang lugar, masyado tayong na-excite, but later on, kung hindi natin mapigilan yung mga sarili natin na magkalat, hindi natin mapigilan yung sarili natin na labagyan yung mga rules and regulations sa isang lugar, usually, tayo din yung magde-destroy. Tayo din yung sisira sa isang lugar. So, according to DOSY, identified 3 different states in tourism relationship with the environmental conservation. So, ano daw yung 3 different states na yun? We have conflict, coexistence, and symbiosis. So, as we all know, conflict, these are the troubles na pwede natin ma-encounter sa isang lugar. But with regards to coexistence, these are the state of living or existing at the same time and same place. So, ibig sabihin sa coexistence, we are living in a particular area. Okay? The tourist lives in a particular area. And therefore, the nature deserves our compassion. Ibig sabihin, dapat tayo mismo, may malasakit tayo sa nature, may malasakit tayo sa kapaligiran natin, sa environment natin. Because, kung yung tao kailangan nila lang malasakit, ganun din si environment, ganun din si natural resources. They also deserve and need respect and appreciation as much as we need. Kaya nga 'di ba, merong mga tourism policy na tinatawag, may mga rules, may mga regulations na kailangan talagang sundin ng mga turista at ng local community. And of course, when we say symbiosis, these are the interaction between 2 different organisms. Okay? So living close in a physical association. So example niyan, yung relationship ng mga animals in a wildlife community, the flora and the fauna. Okay? So, the living plants and the living animals. So, kaya nga, di ba, nauuso na ngayon na we really need to take care of the exotic animals. Lalo na kung sila is, kumbaga, kakaunti na lang yung population nila with regards to a particular country. So, dapat sila is talagang patuloy na pangalagaan. So, tourism in 1980, which stated that the use of tourism resources could not be left uncontrolled without running the risk of their deterioration or even destruction. So, the satisfaction of tourism requirements must not be prejudicial to the social and economic interests of the population in the tourist areas. So, we have here 4 main examples identified in this framework related to permanent environmental restructuring, generation of waste, tourist activities, and effects on population dynamics. So kung mapapansin ninyo, dahil sa sobrang innovative, sobrang creative ng mga tao ngayon, talagang patuloy tayong nagke-create ng mga infrastructures. But at the same time, we really need to observe, we really need to implement yung tinatawag na proper waste management. Lalong-lalo na ngayon sa panahon ng pandemic, dahil nga prone na tayo sa sakit, so ibig sabihin, iwasan natin na magkalat ng magkalat. Hindi man natin nakikita yung effect ngayon, pero in the near future, sa mga magiging families natin, sa future families nila, I'm sure that they will either enjoy the life or either they will cry sa nangyayari sa bansa because hindi na siya maayos. Punong-puno na ng mga population. And of course, at the same time, yung pollution. So, madami ng population with a particular area, malaki din yung tinatawag na pollution. So positive environmental impacts can also be induced through the need for the environment. Tourism can often not succeed without the environment due to the fact that it relies on it. So alam naman natin that tourism, particularly ecotourism, is nature dependent. Ibig sabihin, kung wala yung mga natural resources na yan, how can an ecotourism facilitate? Paano yan gagana? Paano yan mapupuntahan ng mga tao kung walang mga natural resources? So sabi nga dito, after all, we can go on a beach holiday without a beach. We can hike on a mountain kung walang mountains. Diba? We cannot swim in a particular resort kung walang swimming pool, kung walang mga pwedeng activities na gawin. So, one of the examples here, or the positive ecological impact, is the Boracay. Okay? So, not too long ago, the island of Boracay in the Philippines was closed to tourists to allow time for it to recover from the negative environmental impacts. So, kaya nga, di ba, ang pinakaunang sinabi natin kanina, mas gusto natin na mas madami yung positive impacts at mas ma-reduce natin yung negative impacts. Kasi hindi naman talaga mawawala yung negative. But of course, dahil hindi mawawala si negative, mas pag-igihan na lang natin as a future frontliners someday, as a future professionals, na mas padamihin natin yung positive impact sa bansa, sa society, 'di ba? Sa economy natin. So, para in that case, mas maging matatag yung isang bansa. Para hindi tayo masali sa mga least developing countries. So, while inconvenient for tourists who had planned to travel here, this is a positive example of tourism environmental management. And we are beginning to see more examples such as this around the world. So, dahil nga si Boracay is na-rehabilitate because sabi ni President, masyado na talagang madumi si Boracay. So, in that case, nagkaroon ng 6 months rehabilitation from April 26 to October 26, 2018. So, 6 months na rehabilitate si Boracay because of the violations ng mga buildings, yung improper waste management. So, kaya siya pinasara. And after that, nakita naman natin kung ano yung naging itsura ni Boracay. So, negative environmental impacts of tourism occur when the level of visitor use is greater than the environmental's ability to cope with this use. Kaya nga sinasabi natin that there should always be a limitation. May limits dapat lahat, may boundaries dapat lahat ng bagay. Because, kung hindi tayo magkakaroon ng limitation na tinatawag, maaabuso talaga yung ating environment. Maaabuso yung mga natural resources. Kaya nga, di ba, ang nangyari ngayon, because of the pandemic, yung tourism industry is unti-unti na siyang ino-open. Pero hindi isang bugsuan. Ibig sabihin, meron lang mga particular na tao na qualified people in a particular area na pwedeng pumunta sa isang tourist destination. Ibig sabihin, for example, si Boracay, hindi na 1 milyon yung pwedeng pumunta doon. Hindi na less than 100,000 yung pwedeng bumisita. Ibig sabihin, nililimit nila yung number of tourists para makasunod sa health protocol and safety protocols na tinatawag. Para na sa ganon, hindi ulit masira si Boracay. So, syempre, kapag nangyari yung mga uncontrolled events na yan, ito yung mga mangyayari. For example, yung mga soil erosion, di ba? Increase in population, natural habitat loss, vulnerability to forest fire. So, kung nabalitaan natin before, sa Northern California, usong-uso yung forest fire. Sa Syria, and of course sa Australia, yung mga nakita natin before, yung kasimulaan ng pandemic natin, nakita natin na hindi lang pala pandemic ang nangyayari sa bansa. Nangyayari din yung mga environmental problems such as yung mga forest fire na tinatawag, which is really alarming sa mismong bansa at lalong-lalo na sa mga tao at sa mga living organisms, mga animals in a particular country. So next one is the carrying capacity. Ano ba yung tinatawag natin na carrying capacity? So we have here the 4 interrelated elements. The amount of use of a given kind. A particular environment can endure over time, and of course without degradation of its suitability for the use. So to summarize all of these elements, pag sinabi natin carrying capacity, it is a maximum number of individual of a given species that an area's resources can sustain indefinitely without the resources or without depleting the resources. Kaya siya sinabing carrying. Ilan lang ba yung maximum number ng tao na kaya ng particular destination? Parang sa rides lang yan. Kahit sobrang haba ng pila, hindi lahat sila makakasakay. Kasi may limit lang yung seating capacity ng mismong ride. Ganon din si tourism, ganon din si environment. Hindi pwede siyang ma-overcrowded, hindi siya pwedeng maging overpopulated para hindi siya masira. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, si carrying capacity, ang aim talaga natin dito is sustainability. Ang aim natin dito is to balance everything. Yes, we need to earn profit, but aside from that, we also need to take care of our environment. So, according to Stanke and McCool and Graf, indicate that the weak relationship between satisfaction and perceived crowding occurs for a number of differing normative perceptual reasons. So, ano ba yung sinasabi dito ni Stanke and ni McCool? So, let us discuss. So, we have here the self-selection. We have the product shift. We also have displacement, multiple services or multiple sources of satisfaction, rationalizing. We also have activity-specific influences and conceptualization and measurement of satisfaction may be inadequate. So now, iisa-isahin natin yan. Ano ba yung kanilang mga explanation with regards dito sa sinasabi ni Stanke and McCool? So, dun sa self-selection na tinatawag natin, ang pinaka-in-emphasize dito ni Stanke and McCool is that people choose recreational activities. Okay? People choose recreational activities they enjoy and avoid those they do not. Of course, kung pupunta ka sa isang lugar, hindi mo naman talaga pipiliin yung isang activity na ayaw mo. So, most likely, ang gagawin mo, yung mga activities na gusto mo talagang gawin. So, ibig sabihin, in that case, meron kang high level of satisfaction, high level of excitement. Because yung ginagawa mo is gusto mo. You have your own self-preference. How about dun sa product shift? So sabi dito, users may change their definitions of the creation or the recreation experiences to cope up with excessive encounter levels. So for example, yung mga hikers, seeing more people in wilderness may change the definition of this experience. So minsan, di ba, ano ba yung ating connotation kapag tayo nagha-hike? Di ba gusto natin na mas ma-relax because we are attached sa nature? O yung iba naman, ang tingin nila kapag nag-hike ka, mapapagod ka lang, sasakit lang yung katawan mo. Ibig sabihin, tourists have different definition sa mga experiences or activities na nai-encounter nila. So, your experiences might be different sa experiences ng ibang mga turista. Next one is displacement. So, displacement, individuals who are truly sensitive to high-density relationships may have already moved out of the environment, being studied to a less intensively used area. So, may mga tourists kasi na, alam niyo yun, na ayaw nila sa lugar na maraming tao. So, pupunta sila dun sa mga lugar na walang masyadong tao. Kaya nga yung ibang mga artista or ibang mga tao, they are really going sa mga private resort, di ba? Mga private hotel, private transient, private accommodation, na wherein sila lang yung nandun. Diba? They are not immersed sa iba't ibang klase na tao. Next one is the multiple sources of satisfaction. So ano na may sinasabi dito? Satisfaction is a broad psychological construct. Ibig sabihin, malawak. You can really not estimate or walang accurate na way para masabi natin na ang isang tao is satisfied. Kaya nga mahirap na i-test yung satisfaction level. So the number of other people is only one of the many things that might affect satisfaction or dissatisfaction. Kapag summer, alam naman natin na pag summer marami talagang tao. So yung iba, naiirita sila kapag maraming tao sa particular location. Feeling nila crowded, feeling nila hindi sila makahinga. Feeling nila na masyado nang madumi sa area na yon, hindi na sila makakapag-enjoy. So para mas satisfy sila, dun nga natin i-connect yung iba pang mga elements na nabanggit natin kanina. So next one is rationalizing. So recreationists may take the best of even the bad situation, focusing on the positive aspect and minimizing those that are less pleasant. So tayo kasi, when we say rational, we are really thinking. Nag-iisip talaga tayo. Yung mga positive reasons, instead na palakihin natin yung mga negative aspects. So, ang nangyayari dito, let's say people complain about the number of others on a river and are still likely to have a good time by learning to ignore the negative aspects of seeing others. So, yung iba, kahit na alam nila na maraming tao sa beach, di ba, nagtatampisaw yung mga tao sa beach, okay lang sa kanila. Ibig sabihin, hindi sila nagre-reklamo, hindi sila nagko-complain, because alam naman nila na ang current situation is summer vacation. Natural lang na marami talagang mga turista ang pupunta sa beach. Marami talagang mga turista ang magsiswimming. So, ibig sabihin, naiisip nila. They have a rational mind para isipin yung positive side rather than the negative side. Next one is activity-specific influences. So, it has a response patterns to contacts with others may vary according to the types of activities and behaviors encountered. So, yung ibang mga tao, mas gusto nilang mag-hiking, mas gusto nilang mag-swimming, kesa magsakay sa mga off-road activities, di ba? Yung iba, mas gusto nila yung mga activities na, let's say, tahimik lang, passive activities, kesa sa active activities. So, ibig sabihin, depende talaga sa personality ng isang tourist. Depende sa behavior na gusto niya. Or depende sa mga preference niya. Siyempre, if you're really adventurous person, adventurous tourist ka talaga, malamang gusto mo talaga yung mga water activities, yung medyo mataas yung level of risk na tinatawag. And the last one is conceptualization and measurement of satisfaction may be inadequate. So, sabi dito, the multidimensional character of experience by definition makes the likelihood of high correlation between a unidimensional overall satisfaction scale highly unlikely. So, yun nga, yung conceptualization, yung idea natin kung paano natin ma-measure yung satisfaction ng isang turista or ng isang tao is medyo mahirap talaga. So, isa sa mga elements na nagko-contribute sa weak relationship between the satisfaction and of course, yung mga reasons and mga tourists within a particular area. So, and the last one is yung sinabi dito ni Pitt and ni Zug. So, they illustrate that once a resource manager has determined the implementation of some form of recreational use limitation is necessary and any of the overlapping courses of action needs to be considered. So, ano ba yung mga pwede nating gawin? Ano ba yung mga techniques or approaches na pwede natin gawin in order to limit yung mga negative impact? So, pwede yung tinatawag na number 1, site management techniques. So, ano ba yung sinasabi sa site management techniques? So, we need to focus on improving the environment's ecological capacity. Okay? So we need to focus kung paano ba natin ma-enhance yung environment, paano natin ma-maintain yung tinatawag na carrying capacity. So it's either kasi na mangyari dito, marami nga tayong capital improvements, pero later on, diba, pwede yun maging underutilized, pwede nating ma-underutilize yung environment, or pwede naman na ma-overuse yung environment. So from the word itself, site management technique, ang focus natin is yung mismong destination, yung mismong area. Next one is overt management approaches. So this aim at direct regulation of user behavior. So pag sinabi kasi nating overt, these are the open or observable. These are the things that are open and observable. So ibig sabihin, pwede natin gawin dito is yung, for example, restriction on activities and enforcement of user regulation. So dapat ma-mention natin na itong mga particular activities na to, ganito yung dapat yung gawin. Ito yung mga hindi dapat gawin. Kumbaga may restriction, may regulation na tinatawag. Nang sa ganon, maiwasan natin yung mga incompatible situation o yung mga accidents. And next one is the information and education programs. So, ang sinasabi dito, we should inform the users about the recreational resources, okay, and making the users more sensitive to potential impacts of their behavior. So, sinasabi lang dito na we really need to inform or properly inform, educate yung mismong society, the local community, the tourist itself, and of course, yung mga future tourists pa. So, paano natin sila i-educate? Paano natin sila i-inform? So, there are several strategies. You can either give a leaflets, brochures, create a video advertisement. Okay? So, nowadays, napakarami namang mga ways kung paano natin ma-educate further yung mga tao. So, that concludes our Module 2.1, which is the social and ecological impacts of tourism. So, we've highlighted some of the points here and some of the words, so I hope you understand our lessons. So in case you miss any points here in our lesson, you can feel free to replay the video or even download the video and study again. So thank you so much for listening in our today's lesson, and I hope to see you again next time. Thank you and keep safe.